Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at Gold, Mythic, Tiffany and Zero, who are going to be a new character coming to the game as part of an event. More info on this should drop fairly soon, as this is quite a last minute character preview. If we look at the visuals, we have had Tiffany in the game before. She was a tough character in the S-Class era. I think she was meant to combat Mercer. I don't really remember, but she didn't have the doggo, and she has the little doggo who I would assume is called Zero in her backpack on the right hand side. On the left hand side we can see a bit more detail. The doggo looking maybe a bit, anxious here, and she's fighting someone for food. Doggo food specifically. If we look at the stats at level 1440, limit break 3, Tiffany and Zero have 35,110 attack, 17,555 defense, and 35,110 HP. This obviously looks more like an attack-based character here. She is going to be alert, which is a little bit surprising considering the weapon, which looks like an attached weapon. It looks like a rifle, so I would have thought it was going to be a tough character again. But it's going to be a control role, Gold Mythic of course, and it's going to be a new member of the Day 1 Allegiance. Now, taking a first look at the Adrenaline Rush, it is called Zero to the Rescue. It has got a recharge rate of 66 AP, deals 600% damage to a line of enemies. Those enemies get impaired for 1 turn. This fighter and a damage roll teammate recover from all debilitating effects. So, a little bit of damage. It is just going to be a deal damage, no crit potential, no weapon potential on Tiffany's weapon or on the weapon of the enemy. The impair is nice though. It will come in after the damage, however, so she'll give AP to the enemy, then impair the enemy, but they won't be able to Adrenaline Rush or gain any more AP if they are not at max AP at that point. This fighter getting debilitating status effect reset is okay. She is obviously going to have to be able to do the Adrenaline Rush to be able to actually, do this cleanse, which means she's not going to be impaired, she's not going to be stunned, and she's most likely not going to be confused or taunted just because of the fact that, unless she has maybe focus, but that also she can't be normalized because she's a leader. So there's not really too many debilitating status effects that she's going to have that she can even cleanse with this, so it's kind of strange there. But she is cleansing another character, and it's specifically a damage roll fighter, which is generally one of the best fighters to fully cleanse so they can have their full turn, which is very nice indeed. If you don't want to cleanse someone because you want to take advantage of focus with like taunt or something like that, obviously don't rush with Tiffany and Zero first. Do the other characters' stuff first. So that's just one thing to note. We'll just check out this Adrenaline Rush and see how it works. Okay, so here we are attacking, and as you can see, I am going to rush the top line, and we'll do the damage first, I think, then the impair will come in. We'll actually only see this on Angel, so Angel should gain some AP first, as you can see, then she would be impaired. This would stop her from being able to Adrenaline Rush, but obviously Angel can cleanse, so in her case she'll just cleanse that and Adrenaline Rush. But now my Tiffany and Zero have fully cleansed, and if I had a damage roll character on this attack team, they would also be cleansed as well. Like I said, generally speaking, you're going to have a damage roll character on an attack team most likely, and that character having debilitating status effects cleansed is good. It's mainly going to work against things like stun, impaired days, the things that don't force characters to make an attack. So no confuse and taunt, just because obviously they would have already taken their turn in that scenario. But it's obviously nice to do it if it is like a longer than 1 turn confuse or a longer than 1 turn taunt. And there are characters out there that do crazy taunts. I think there's like Luke who does like a 4 or 5 turn taunt potentially based on how many Telltale characters on the defense team with him. So if that hits a damage roll character, a specific damage roll character, Tiffany and Zero can cleanse that, and obviously that's quite nice indeed. So that's basically how it works. Just more of a little bit of damage, a sprinkle of damage. But she is going to be a leader, so her attack stat should be quite high. That means you should get reasonably decent hit out of this. And that is, of course, if you have Tiffany and Zero surrounded by 1535 teammates, that's going to improve Tiffany's damage quite massively. If she's got 1535 in her own hands as well, the multipliers will come in. But she may not be a priority for you when it comes to dealing damage. Obviously, it's based on the rest of her kit. Her rush isn't super heavy hitting, but we'll have to see when it comes to her other, you know, like I say, the other parts of her kit. If we look at the upgrades here, you can see at grade 3, it gets an upgrade where it does damage to a line. So initially, it's just going to be a single target damage. Then at grade 5, it's going to get an upgrade where a damage roll teammate recovers from all debilitating status effects. This is obviously a nice little bonus, probably the biggest important part of the Adrenaline Rush, honestly, and it comes in at grade 5. Then Limit Break 2, it gets an upgrade where those enemies get impaired for 1 turn. It is a shame that this comes in after the damage. It would have been nice to stop the character from gaining AP on the damage that Tiffany deals. But there are other ways, obviously, that you can stop AP gain. Elusive is out there. Maybe there's Elusive on her kit somewhere else. But there are other characters that can give out Elusive. So there are other ways to do it if Tiffany can't actually do it herself. But the Impair isn't too bad. If a character's already, you know, ready to rush, it is nice to be able to stop them. We don't have too many Impairs on attack, honestly. And Impair is one of the nicer debilitating status effects out there when it comes to, you know, obviously stopping quite a major power in Adrenaline Rushes, honestly. So the Adrenaline Rush is okay. I don't think it's going to be a world beater by anything it means. It's nice that she does cleanse herself, but like I said, it doesn't. She won't be able to do her rush in like 90% of occasions when, you know, if she has one of these debilitating status effects. So it is kind of strange, but the other character being a damage roll character getting the cleanse too is very nice indeed. So like I say, the Adrenaline Rush is just kind of okay. Nothing really special here. Let's see if there's anything special in the signature move, and it is called Control the Field. It has got an initial cooldown of turn 1, cooldown of 2 turns, number of uses unlimited. Make 2 attacks against a line of enemies for 250% damage, which is 500% total each, but plus 1 attack to each if the primary target has a debilitating effect. These can also crit, so you might want to build crit multiplier here. Her Adrenaline Rush isn't super heavy hitting. This signature move can hit harder for sure, just because it can crit and you can boost it with crit multiplier. And debilitating status effects aren't too crazy to actually occur. There are characters that just apply it, for instance, like Laura, to support-based characters. She does daze, so that's a debilitating status effect. And then as long as the target that Tiffany and Zero actually focus is got a debilitating status effect, they're going to hit multiple times. It does say at the end, impair that line of enemies for 2 turns. If the characters are not taken down, they are going to be impaired for 2 turns. Again, it comes in after the damage, unfortunately. But it is the way it is when it comes to the impair. Is nice, though. She can potentially have an impair weapon as well. So you could proc these earlier, for instance, on the first attack rather than the second attack. But this could do actually pretty decent amount of damage compared to her Adrenaline Rush because it can crit. Because you're going to get the multipliers come in, the scaling is pretty high here. Okay, so we are going to attack here, and as you can see, we have got some control on Angel here, some debilitating status effects. If I was to select her when doing the signature move, we would have 3 attacks to each of Angel and Noor. But if I was to select Noor, it would just be 2 attacks to each of them. Generally speaking, it's always better to do more attacks. I really can't think of a situation where you wouldn't want to do it. Maybe... I'm not really sure, honestly. Well, we're going to do the attacks. It should be 3 each, so we can just count them out. We're going to have 2, 4, 6. There we go. So it's 3 each. And we also see that we have got impair on Noor. We did see some AP drain there, so there is some AP drain potential in her kit. And that obviously can drain the AP away that she gained. And now she is impaired with 0 AP. That isn't too bad. Remember, this damage will scale quite high because she is a leader. If you put her in crit set on her mods and also give her a crit multiplier auxiliary mod, those stacked together could do pretty decent crit damage for sure. If you give her a decent 3rd slot where she does extra damage based on the enemy's HP, again, could be really pretty decent damage here. But that's just up to whether you want her to be a primary damage dealer or just more of a control-based character, because she has got some pretty decent control so far. If we look at the upgrades here, you can see at grade 2 it gets +1 attack. So initially it's just attack a line of enemies once each for 250% damage. Then obviously it goes up to twice each, 500% total. Then at grade 4 it gets an upgrade where it impairs that line of enemies for 2 turns. At limit break 1 it gets an upgrade where it's +1 attack to each if the primary target has a debilitating status effect, as I showed. And then at limit break 3 we get the kind of obvious -1 to starting cooldown that we sometimes get, where obviously a first turn cooldown on a signature move is very, very important. You gain more AP, you're also going to do more damage much earlier on in the fight, And because this is control 2, you are going to get some control in earlier on in the fight, which is generally where you want it to be, early as possible. So obviously LB3 seems quite important to be able to get out pretty decent amounts of control here. I don't think this signature move is too bad. It's definitely better than the Adrenaline Rush because you can scale it off of her mods and the fact that she's going to get quite boost based on her being a leader and so on and so forth. This could be pretty good, especially if you put in a really nice weapon in her hands. If you put in like I say, an extra 45% attack when attacking enemies over 50% HP from the armory on her weapon, she will hit much harder, and the crits will be obviously scaled really high because of her mods. But I don't think she's like meant to be a primary damage dealer. She is more of a control-based character, but this could hit pretty decently regardless. So yeah, not too bad a signature for sure. I like the fact that there's control in there. So at least you get the choice whether you want to make her more of a damage dealer or just want to leave it for more of control. Now Tiffany and Zero have some mythic abilities. These are the passives, of course. Now because they are a control character, they're going to have precision. Enemy resistances are a flat 40% reduced against this character. That's good for the impairs that she is already putting down. The first main passive is called Stay Hidden. At the start of each turn, 100% chance all alert teammates get camouflage for 1 turn. This is actually pretty nice. This is effectively counter damage dodge on your entire team except the person that does the attack. But if you have the character that does the attack get like a guardian shield, they would block the damage themselves anyway. So potentially you could put like Tiffany and Zero in a full alert team as the leader, and then have someone like the new Lily, Awakened Lily, as the character, because she gives out guardian shields to herself constantly. She also does some normalize, but also she's just going to do a lot of damage. So she could potentially target those payback characters. The entire team would dodge it because the camouflage would stop the damage reflection. And then obviously if she took those characters out in a single hit, so would Lily because she has that guardian shield. So there could be some potential like duos there. The next passive is called Careful Approach. At the start of each turn, 100% chance a random enemy gets dazed, impair, and confused for 1 turn. That is actually a lot of control at the beginning of every turn. This isn't the beginning of every wave, so this means the second the fight starts on attack, she will be able to daze, impair, and confuse somebody. The next turn, she'll be dazed, confusing, and impair someone again. It could be the same character, but because it only lasts 1 turn, they'd just be controlled again. That is very nice indeed. It means guaranteed someone is not gaining any AP on that defense team, and obviously they can't use their signature move, and the attacks are completely random. It's just obviously quite nice there. They can be obviously resisted, but she has got that control passive, so that's not too bad. The last one is the Alerted passive. At the start of each turn, 100% chance a random enemy gets minus 15% defense for each alert teammate on the team. This lasts for 1 turn. If you have a full team of alert characters, this would be minus 75% defense to a single target. Minus 75% defense is massive. When characters have like 80k defense, they're effectively now going to have less than 20k defense, and it's basically going to be like a hot knife through butter at that point. This is a nice passive, but it obviously is based on how many alert characters you use. If you just use Tiffany, it'll be minus 15% defense, but it'll be plus 15% for every extra alert character. So we're attacking again, and this time I have an extra alert character in my team, and as you can see, we have got camouflage on all the alert characters, which would stop counter damage hitting these characters. It would hit anyone who was not alert though, so like I said, you have to make sure they've got some sort of protection somehow, basically guardian shield, so on and so forth. We can also see there is an enemy on the defense team that has minus 45% defense. It is going to be Angel, and that's because I've got 3 alert characters. 3 times 15 is 45, and there's that defense down. And Angel is also massively controlled. She has got all the controls on her. We will actually hit the defend action on all the characters and just show how it's going to work at the beginning of the next turn, because what should happen is another character should get dazed, impaired, all the good stuff. So who's it going to land on this time around? It should be pretty obvious. It's going to be Nor by the looks of things. She did get it confused instantly. Did she get other things? Daze and impair. So she's been fully controlled for this turn. This isn't actually that bad at all. I've always thought that leaders should be more control based. Because they don't have a specialist skill, damage dealers need specialist skills, generally speaking. Control characters really don't. They only need that passive that means they hit control more, and she's got that. And this is a lot of consistent control, especially if you were to team her up with someone like Danny, who would also be doing control every turn because if it's confused. You could have a lot of characters on the defense team not being able to take their turn. And the bonus with Danny, of course, is they are both alert characters, so they'd work very well together when it comes to Tiffany and Zero's passives. If we look at the upgrades on them, you can see at grade 1, we get the first half of Stay Hidden. At the start of each turn, 50% chance all alert teammates get camouflage for 1 turn. At grade 2, she gets the first half Precision, making enemy resistances a flat 20% lower against this character. And then at grade 3, she gets the second half of Stay Hidden, making a 100% chance all alert teammates get camouflage for 1 turn at the start of every single turn that Tiffany's alive. This is obviously great. Moving on to grade 4, we get the first half of Careful Approach. At the start of each turn, 50% chance a random enemy gets dazed, impaired, and confused for 1 turn. And at grade 5, we get the Alerted passive. At the start of each turn, 50% chance a random enemy gets minus 15% defense for each alert teammate for 1 turn. If we just skip on to the net breaks, we get Precision 2 coming in, making it 40% flat reduction in the resistances against this character. She's doing a lot of control. Impair on Rush, Impair on Signature Move, and then that obviously that other passive, which is Careful Approach, giving so much control every single turn. Very important that you upgrade Precision here. As you see at LB2, Careful Approach 2 comes in, where it makes it 100% chance a random enemy gets dazed, Impair, and confused for 1 turn. And at Limit Break 3, Alerted 2 comes in, making a 100% chance a random enemy gets 15% defense down for each alert teammate for 1 turn. And this is at the start of every turn. So let's say, again, if you get down to that last character alive situation and you've got, like, let's say 3 alert characters, they're going to have minus 45% defense. They're also going to be confused, dazed, and impaired. That character's not going to last too long for sure. So yeah, very nice passes when it comes to Tiffany. She's going to set up her teammates. You don't really have to build her for damage by the way it looks. You could build her for more for support. She's just going to get pretty decent damage anyway. But you could build her with like kind of strange crit multiplier mods that you wouldn't necessarily put on other characters and save your premium ones for your main characters. You could give her like HP on crit multiplier. So she's just more got survivability, but also the crits are going to hit harder still. That could be a way to go. But this actually doesn't look like a bad leader at all. Is it competing with Trader? Maybe a little bit, honestly. Trader's control is very nice. And I do like the fact that it's a leader that has control. I've always thought that, you know, leaders having control is the best way to go. Just because, like I said, damage dealers need specialist skills, generally speaking, to get the best out of them. Leaders can't have specialist skills, generally speaking, unless they have like a passive that does something similar. And Tiffany and Zero are kind of living up to that. They're doing a lot of control. It should be very good for any teammates that Tiffany and Zero have here. Now we have talked about it. Tiffany and Zero are going to be a leader, and it's all alert teammates get 50% attack. All other teammates get 35% attack instead. At the start of each wave, 3 random teammates get 100% daze resistance for 2 turns. This is all pretty nice. Alert characters getting 50% boost is obviously nice because Tiffany and Zero is an alert leader effectively because of what the rest of her kit does when there's lots of alert characters in the team. But a 35% attack instead for other characters is just if you do want to use someone else. Like I said, if you use Lily in there, getting those Guardian Shields not too much of a problem. The 3 random teammates getting 100% daze resistance for 2 turns is beautiful. It's beautiful because there is so much daze around at the moment on defense teams. And this is going to block potential dazes. Obviously, things like control rolls can get through this, but there are quite a few characters like Clementine who are not control characters. So as long as you're dealing with someone who's not a control-based character, they can't bypass this 100% resistance. And that means you just should be able to use more signature moves going forward, which has been a little bit of an issue from what I've seen in recent times. So we'll start the fight, and as you can see, we have got Clementine on the defense team. We did just have a Daze go in and hit Lydia, but because she has that 100% resistance, she's going to resist it. It will be 3 random teammates, including potentially Tiffany and Zero themselves. I have just got 3 characters here just to show you it hitting Lydia, and she can hit the resistance before the fight starts. This is obviously nice. If you come up against like an Alpha lead, Alpha would reduce this down to 60% chance, but that's still pretty decent if you didn't want to use a Days Resist mod. If you do have a character in a team that you obviously want to get this bonus, you don't necessarily have to use the mod, but it might not land on them. So you might want, again, let's say had a 70% mod on them. If it didn't land on them, at least you have a chance to still resist. It's obviously only for characters that have very good signature moves. Someone like Danny here, and obviously would get a boost that way. Now the last thing to look at is going to be the weapon, and it is Tiffany's Savage Tranquilizer Rifle. I guess this is why it's an alert character, because it's not like a heavy weapon. I don't know. It has got 40% attack, a huge bonus to AP when attacking, improved AP down plus impair. When attacking, a 60% chance the target gets impaired for 3 turns and minus 20 AP. And in the last, it has improved alert attacks. At the start of each turn, all other teammates get 15% attack for each alert teammate on the team. Now, I would say the best thing you would want to do with this weapon is just upgrade it to 55% attack. And this potentially could be usable if Tiffany is not the leader. There is obviously usability where Tiffany's not a leader. But if she is a leader, I wouldn't use this weapon necessarily. I would use a weapon that gave her bonus attack on the 3rd slot against enemies based on their HP. And in the last slot, definitely 1535 or an improved 1535. Or the plus 20% attack to adjacent teammates, just because you want to give as much damage output, not just to Tiffany, but also to her teammates as well. She is a leader, more of a support character. You should be obviously trying to boost the attack stat for teammates as much as possible. And she's got a very high leader skill, 50% attack to alert characters. You want to boost that again as much as possible here, in my opinion. Okay, so that was just a little look at Tiffany and Zero, and actually as a leader doesn't look too bad. Quite a lot of control potential. Seemingly some pretty interesting leadership potential as well when it comes to the full alert teams based on the passes, based on that leader skill. There are quite a lot of strong base defenses out there right now. There are the Denise defenses, of course, and there are obviously the Bite defenses, which are generally quite heavily strong based, but sometimes the odd fast character in there too. Being able to attack those teams with heavier attack stat is always nice, and the amount of control that Tiffany is going to bring to the table is actually pretty good as well. There are quite a few decent alert characters that have been released recently. The likes of Lydia in the Gold Mythic Wheel and Danny recently as an Ultra. So there are some pretty heavy damage dealers out there that could definitely be on Tiffany and Zero's team and take advantage of that massive attack stat. The only questionable thing is this rifle on an alert character, I think, is kind of strange. It is a tranquilizer gun, I guess, but it is a bit strange looking. Do tell me your thoughts, though, on Gold Mythic Tiffany and Zero. We have another doggo coming to the game. Could we potentially just get Zero as a character? So maybe a little bit for too small doggo. We'll have to wait and see. That is the end of my video, guys. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.